Welcome back to Quad Radio and part 4 of our GNCC 2012 season preview with Johnny Gallagher and myself, Rodney Tomblin. Johnny, the one guy we got to talk about here is, we talk about, and we've mentioned this, grassroots, and, Adam's back to the grassroots, Taylor's back to the grassroots, and so on and so forth. And the one guy that really has never left the grassroots of it all, even through factory sponsorship and support and things of that nature, he's kept it as grassroots as anybody could, and that, of course, is our now 3-time GNCC champion, Chris Borich.
Yeah, he's definitely the poster child for, a family-run program and keeping it simple. And I guess as much as you could say that, a big program that wins GNCC championships could be simple, but, he keeps it, there's not a whole lot of smoke and mirrors with the Borich racing program. It's pretty simple. Race, ride, race some more, race some more after that, and then race some more. A lot of guys have, varied from that formula over the years and had a lot of success, with their trainers and nutritionists and a whole lot of stuff. And, Chris is steak and shake and cheesesteaks and definitely is not a athlete in the sense of his training or his nutrition, but certainly one of the greatest athletes in our sport when it comes to putting results on the board. So yeah, very grassroots, reminiscent of the older times, when it was just simply, I want it, I'm going to go get it. And I think that's the one thing that Chris definitely has wheelbarrows full of is gumption and drive. He knows what he wants, and he's got a very successful program with people that are behind him, and it translates into results on the track.
And he's done nothing this season. You spent a lot of time with the champ, and he's done nothing but train basically since the checker flag flew last year. I mean, the last checker flag at Loretta Lynn's. I mean, he's been at it, nose to the grindstone, week after week, day after day. Does this guy ever quit?
I think Chris has a well-grounded attitude in regards to that. He's kind of a knucklehead in some other ways, but that's personal stuff. No, I'm kidding. But Chris definitely has. He's got a nose to the grindstone. He's an incredibly hard worker, and he's very focused when it comes to his profession, which is winning and racing. And you've seen a number of guys over the years in our sport and other sports, other forms of motorsports and sports in general, that when they get to the top, you see them change things up, and it becomes about endorsements and paychecks and the media and trademarking their name, and really it not to say it's a bad thing, but a lot of people change when they have that success. And I think Chris is still the same quiet, private, to a fault, I would say, and he can get mad at me if he wants to say that, but almost kind of aloof when it comes to the media. He just kind of wants to hide and do his own thing, but it really translates into results on the racetrack. So it's hard to argue with the success of his program and the way he does things. And you said yourself immediately following Loretta Lynn's, he basically took no time off, went home, rode those few weeks that he was home between then and the banquet, went to the banquet, loaded up the next day, headed to Florida, and he's been at it 6-7 days a week, riding and training. And when I say Chris Borich is an athlete, I say that certainly in jest. He doesn't rely on trainers and nutritionists like some of the guys do, but he's very self-motivated and self-trained, spends a lot of time perfecting not only his riding but his conditioning, and that's what makes him a winning machine, I guess, as it has shown over the last 3 years. So Chris is a guy that came up through the ranks, kind of a traditional GNCC family. Dad raced, and many of his friends raced. Used to be the trailer that pulled in with 7-8 quads stood up on end, and really started the way a lot of people start GNCC racing, just carpooling to save money and coming to the races as a young kid and racing the B class and winning championships in B class and A class, and ultimately stepping up to the then pro class, now XC1, and kind of making a name for himself as a single-digit guy for a number of years, and became Bill's biggest challenger, a number of years ago. And they had their toured battles, and finally in 2009, Chris was able to get himself a championship, and I think he wants to continue with that. I mean, as anybody would. So, he's doing what he knows and how he feels is best to arm himself to go out and win races and ultimately a championship. And Chris is Chris is definitely very mindful of his competition. I think he's very confident in his program, but at the same time, always willing to evolve. He's not a guy that thinks what he's doing is always the best no matter what. I mean, if he sees something that's working and he feels he should leave it alone, he does. But when he sees something that needs to be adjusted or changed or modified to get the desired result, he's all over it. So he puts a lot of time and definitely pumps a lot of not only time and his family's time, but money that he's earned back into his program to make sure he has the best of the best and is the best of the best to try and go out and compete, and obviously that shows.
Now, being so close to Chris Bortz, Johnny, one thing I've heard, and if you're at liberty to talk about this, great. If not, great. But I understand that there is a little bit of a change in Chris's program this year, mechanic-wise. I understand that John is actually elected to move back home and take care of some responsibilities there, if what I'm hearing is correct.
Yeah, I don't think that's. I don't believe that's a secret at this point. John Rowling, who is Chris's mechanic from I believe 2008 through 2011, has moved back to Kentucky. No longer living up in Pennsylvania. Was actually living very close to the Borches there, and was there on a daily basis as a part of Chris's program. Had some family things and some personal changes within his life, and decided that it was time for him to move back home and be with family. And at some point, if you see him, I'm sure he'll explain more. But basically, Chris is still in contact with John. They still have a good working relationship, but John will definitely not be the full time race mechanic for Bortz Racing and Chris Bortz this year. Chris is working with actually Dustin Wimmer's mechanic from the years he won his championship with Suzuki. As of right now, it looks like he's going to be turning the wrenches this year. I don't know all the specifics, and it's not really that I'm not at liberty to say. I really haven't stuck my nose in. Chris runs his program, and they're working out the details, or may already have at this point. But Joe and Chris ran a tight ship for a number of years before John came on board, and they've got a good amount of equipment that was already dialed in. So I don't think there's any real major changes there when it comes to the mechanicking or the mechanics of his program. Certainly, like I said, without having John at the races, I'm sure Chris will miss having him around. He was a good friend and an ex-mechanic, but they're still good friends, still remain in touch, and who knows, John may show up at some races from time to time as his family obligations and personal obligations back in Kentucky allow.
Yeah, I'm sure he will. And knowing how GNCC kind of grabs a hold of you, I'm sure he'll be there quite a bit. And that's good to hear that that everything is still good as far as that goes. And it sounds like Chris is not going to miss a beat, like you said. And looks like the stage is set, I guess we could say, Johnny. And we're only days away from it. And the 2012 Can-Am GNCCs will be off and rolling. And I think we've got a lot of exciting times ahead of us.
Yeah, definitely. And in closing, I think if I could, put it into perspective and kind of sum it up, we've sat here and talked about the guys that, kind of make up the top 10 or so, top 11, 12, whatever it may be in the XC1 class. But there's a whole lot of exciting racing that's, we can't even fathom or imagine. It's just, that's what happens. The green flag and the spirit of competition brings out unexpected things every day in every race. So anybody listening to this at home, if you're planning on coming racing anyway, we're certainly looking forward to seeing you at River Ranch or, whenever you guys are able to make it out to the first race. And, if you're not planning on coming, you really need to change your plans because this is going to be one heck of a year. I think with all the competition up front, with all the competition in utility classes, the women's classes, the amateur classes, the XC2 class, the H classes, there's never been a better time to be an ATV racer or, more importantly, an ATV race fan.
That's it. That's Johnny Gallagher. I'm Rodney Tomblin. This is Quad Radio.